Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Alex Avila with Love University, and we're back. I'm an author, psychologist, and speaker. Every week we talk about how to love yourself, others, and a higher nature, how to improve your finances, career, relationships, spiritual, and physical health, and emotional health. And in our times today with the pandemic and people are more isolated and depression, and also spending more time with your love partner, sometimes there's more conflict because you're there with them a lot of the time and there's a lot of frustration. So we want to talk today about something lighter, something more positive, and that's humor, laughter. So our topic today is how to laugh your way to a happy marriage or relationship, how humor can enhance your relationship. And I have a great guest today to help us do that. This is Bob Eckstein, award-winning illustrator, cartoonist, best-selling New York Times author. He's a contributing editor at Writer's Digest. His cartoons have appeared in the New York Times, the New Yorker, and have been exhibited in the Cartoon Art Museum in London. He's an expert on snowmen, independent bookstores, and marrying your enemy, which we're going to talk about. His two latest books are All is Fair in Love and also The Elements of Stress and the Pursuit of Happy-ish. Welcome, Bob, to the show.
Oh, thank you. Great to see everyone.
Yeah, high five, everybody. Now, we saw you at the Miami Book Festival last year before everything went bonkers. And we're seeing you again. And now you have a fascinating new book out, All is Fair in Love. Actually, this is the book right here. We're going to talk about it. It's kind of a cartoon version of humor in love, relationships, singles and married folks. Now, you have a great story. You were telling me that in college, you met a woman that you kind of hated in some way competitively. And then later on in a funeral, you met her again and you fell in love and she became your wife. And one thing I want to talk to you about, Bob, is, you know, one of our very esteemed psychologists in marriage, John Gottman, says that conflict doesn't necessarily mean a doomed marriage. In fact, it may indicate passion. But the key is how do you resolve it? Whether you do it through what he calls softeners, ways in which you can use humor to diffuse things, and even a touch or affection can do that. So tell us your story and how do you diffuse that conflict with your wife?
Well, we'll start from the beginning in that when I was in art school, as we all do, we always have a nemesis,
yes,
in school, in college, and I had one as well. The reason why we became enemies was that the teachers were pitting our artwork against each other.
Oh, okay.
And the teacher would hold up our work, and it would always be, there was this adversity between us. And it all kind of came to a head when one day the teacher held up our work together. We were doing an assignment on business cards, and my enemy got up in tears and left the classroom. It was really terrible, very embarrassing.
Wow.
But we did share mutual friends, and we found out through the grapevine our mutual disdain for each other. Now, fast forward ahead a dozen years to a funeral. We all think about our enemy, and we think one day we're going to run into them again, and this time we're going to be in a sports car with a beautiful spouse in the front passenger seat, or something like that. Or they'll see us in LinkedIn and we're the art director for ABC Carpet or something. In this case, nothing in life ever goes as planned. I always remind myself that on paper, it's a lot different than real life. And in this case, I ran into her at the funeral. When I met her in school, by the way, she would wear babushkas on her hair and pajamas and make this great entrance. And she was really quite a character.
Okay.
This time she was wearing black, unfortunately. Oh. And we were both very friendly. We hit it off. We were asked by the family of the deceased friend of ours if we would please consider together helping them put together a memorial art show and also help design their daughter's tombstone. It's a very solemn experience, and we were thrown together. And the interesting thing is that this is a wonderful gift that our friend gave to us after her life, that she continued the communication between me and my enemy that would later become my wife. And what happened is that as I was in communication with this person, she was sharing different things she was doing. And one of the things she explained was that she was involved in a charity called Meals on Wheels.
Yes.
And she would take a van through New York City to the nooks and crannies of New York City's bad neighborhoods, actually, like going underneath bridges and places, dark alleys that people needed to be fed. And she was doing this, and she's such a brave person.
Wow.
And I was worried, and I asked if I could tag along. And I did follow her, and I kind of try to learn more about her, and that's the moment in the relationship that was the turning point. Every relationship, whether it's with your
Yes.
a loved one or a boss or something, has a
Right.
turning point.
I
Seeing
see.
her compassionate
Yes.
and dealing with homeless people
Right.
made me fall in love with
So
her.
she was a humanitarian and a giver, it looked like. Were you physically attracted to her, or she to you, as far as you know?
No, it had
Not
nothing
really?
to do with that initially.
Okay.
It all had to do with me seeing what I thought was these saintly
So
goods.
her inner
These,
beauty, her inner quality.
yeah, yeah. I was seeing someone else. I broke up with them because I knew this was going to be serious.
Yes.
And then once we started seeing each other differently, I kind of had the attitude, well, this might as well happen. And we eloped to Iceland.
Wow.
So it's really a real transformation, and kind of
Yes.
shows that anything can happen.
Interesting. If you're open to the idea, like if your heart is open and you can be spontaneous.
That's
You
a good
mentioned the
point,
word,
right?
the word enemy is kind of a hard word. I mean, it's almost like you hate. Did you really hate her that way, or do you say that in a facetious way, or how do you mean?
No, I guess it's more like the healthy competition we all have with somebody.
Yes.
I think that
Okay.
I try to teach myself that in my own life with careers and stuff, that
Yes.
you should not feel any animosity toward your competitors,
Yes, right.
and that you stay in your own lane and do the
Right.
best that you can do.
Exactly. Yeah,
You know?
because psychology would call that upward comparison. If someone's doing better than you, you actually feel worse. And some people do downward comparison. They compare this with something doing worse, and then you feel better. But the best way is inward comparison, like you're saying. Compare yourself to your improvement and your growth, and then you feel
Yeah.
better as a result. But that
Yeah.
takes some maturity. Sometimes people don't get into that stage. Now, the other thing, Bob, you're very good at humor. It seems like humor is your thing. And last time we were laughing a lot in Miami. We were having a good time. Now, I see you a little more
Yeah.
somber today. Are you still humorous, or have you lost your funny bone?
No. Oh, no, please. No. We're in a pandemic, so
Yeah,
I
of
have
course.
that.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, humor is my thing. And, my saying is things could not get worse,
Ah,
but things could get funnier.
I like that.
So, I
Okay.
mean, that's what I threw myself into.
Yes.
I had to pivot like everyone else. We
Yes.
all had major adjustments.
Right.
And in my case, what I did was I wound up teaching writing and drawing at NYU.
Yes.
And then I started taking on book projects.
Right.
And the one book project is sort of a love letter that I have toward people I truly admire, which is
Yes.
great gag cartoonists.
Ah.
And the one book you held up, or
Yes.
I'll hold it up too.
Oh, you got it?
It's a purple book.
Yes.
It's called All's Fair in Love and War. It's a
Yes.
collection of the world's greatest cartoonists.
Yes.
And I've always looked up to them. I'm indebted to them because they inspired me and taught me how to be a better gag cartoonist.
Yes.
So I put their best work together in this piece. And it's all about love and marriage
Yes.
and divorce.
Exactly. Yeah, all the sides of it. Now, you're the editor of this piece. And one thing that's interesting, humor, as we know, research shows, is very positive. There are a lot of benefits, physical and mental. It reduces stress, releases endorphins. It can improve your creativity, your social desirability, even your sex appeal. Research shows that females are more attracted to males with a sense of humor. Actually, even in couples, in married couples, women are more sexually fulfilled. They actually have more orgasms and more frequency of sex when the man is funny, which is kind of an interesting thing. So you got to be funnier, I guess.
You're making me blush over here. You might not see it, but really, you're making me uncomfortable.
Okay, well, you're doing good. You're doing good. It shows actually intelligence and creativity, so that's an attractive trait in mates. Now, let's talk a little bit about your cartoons in here. Now, they're really very funny, and I actually categorize them based on certain kind of trends or themes. For example, the initial idea of a single person. I wrote a book called Love Types, which I think you know about, which talks about compatibility and love, personality
Yes.
types. Initially, we have the dating masquerade, I call it, where people put on a mask and then they try to impress the other person with their personality that may be different from who they really are. When the mask comes off, then often you're incompatible when you realize who you are. So one of the cartoons was kind of cool. It was saying this woman introduced her boyfriend to the family, and she says, and by the way, he looks like Dracula. And she's saying, I know, but I can change him. So it's what she says. And then another one that was kind of cool is two snails are looking at a tape dispenser, Scotch tape. And one of the snails says to the other, I don't care if she's a tape dispenser. I love her.
Well, to go back to what you said, first I want to say you're absolutely right. We all have that. First of all, the sales pitch.
Yes.
We all have an elevator pitch,
Right.
and we all have about 10 minutes of really good stories. And then we find out if the person really loves us because we run out of material.
Okay, that's true.
And then we'll see if they're going to love us for ourselves.
That's a good point.
But you also mentioned sex appeal and humor's role in us attracting the opposite sex.
Yes.
I actually go into that in the first part of the book. There's an introduction about that because that's absolutely true. It's amazing how much it plays a role because as a potential mate, we want to be someone who's going to get us through the rocky roads of life because it's a long road.
Right.
And it's a bumpy road, and as the melons fall off that truck onto the bumpy road of life, you want someone there next to you to get you through it with some laughter.
Definitely. And actually, it's not necessarily that you need to have the same sense of humor. For example, you might like slapsticks, you might like puns, but it's that you can create humor together, like the way you go out and see the world. You know, like this is kind of funny, or the way the waiter did something. So that is what actually predicts marital satisfaction, relationship satisfaction. You can create humor together, you know, as you're out in the world. Now the other thing is the thing about trying to change a person. Now, I don't know if you ever tried that or she tried it with you, is that we fall in love with an image sometimes of what we think the person should be or is. For example, an introverted person who likes to stay home a lot may act like they're extrovert, in the dating stage, right? They'll go out and socialize and party. Then when they get home and when they get married, then they want to stay home all the time. And they say, you're a couch potato. Well, I'm an introvert. And the other person is always going out, and you wonder why they want to go out and spend time with other people. So that's an issue sometimes. Have you found that in either your relationship or in other relationships where people try to change each other into that image they think they have?
Oh, absolutely. And of course, the first relationship is ourselves because we all try to change ourselves. And I think at some point in our life, we do accept ourselves for who we are. I think that's a huge turning point in our life.
Definitely.
When you finally say, this is me. And I'm going to, this is the best I could do. And as far as the specific aspect of being a party person or not, I certainly recall in high school a teacher pulling me aside and said, the key to happiness is that you must be paired with either a party person if you're a party person, or a person who stays home with a person who stays home. They said everything else will work out.
Okay, well, it's not
Which
bad.
is a little insane simplification of it.
Right.
But there actually is maybe a kernel of truth to it.
What's your wife's name, Bob?
My wife's name is Tammy, and her name is full name is Tamar Stone. Okay. And people can see that she's an artist, and they can enjoy her work because her work is actually quite exceptional.
Wow.
And it's enjoyed in major museums around the world.
Awesome.
She's the famous one in the family.
Okay, well, there you go. That's good to hear. Now, let me ask you, so first of all, are you both introvert people, internal energy, would you say?
I think so, because we also are creative people who like the idea of going back into our mind and work and entertain ourselves. I think the people who are creative need to go back and they're able to sort of entertain themselves. But for instance, when I do cartoons, whether it's going to be for a magazine or whatever it's going to be used for, I've got to make myself laugh.
Okay.
So first, I'm the first audience, and so in being introverted is part of the process. There, you got to be able to be comfortable in your own skin.
Right. So you're your own audience. You make the joke and you laugh at yourself or with yourself, and that's a good thing to do. Now the other thing is
not that I'm laughing out loud at home. I just want to make that clear. I'm not insane,
well,
but you have to
bit.
laugh internally.
Actually, there's an exercise that we're going to tell you later that actually is about laughter, which is kind of funny. Now, compatibility is so crucial, and the work I do with love types on Myers-Briggs personality types. And again, you want to be similar. You don't have to be exactly the same, but similarities do often work long term. Like you say, you're both imaginative, you're both internal energy. But many times, people initially are attracted to the opposites. And in one of your cartoons, you have a very tall woman with a very short guy. Her T-shirt says one way, his says yield. So, now actually, that reminds me, we had John Gray, you may have heard of him, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus on the show.
Sure.
And he talks about the dominant feminine energies, that all men and women have, the yin and yang. And, some women have more of the stronger energy, the yang, some men have more of the yang, the more submissive energies. It can work out if you respect each other's style. And that's the key. Because many times people want to change the other person into something else, or they don't respect the style, and that can be a problem. And also, when it comes to intimacy as well. So one cartoon says, Santa Claus is in bed reaching for his wife. And she says, take a shower first. You smell like chimneys. So that's a classic tale, right? Yes.
Yeah, that's going back to a very familiar saying we all have heard,
Yes.
and just putting a little twist on it. And the humor from that is that it's a little unpredictable. I want to point out one other cartoon.
Yes.
There's a guy screaming at his wife saying, "Stop referring to you and me as we."
Oh, okay. Okay, there you go. Do you want to retain that so-called independence and still be part of that? But actually, some of these cartoons are actually pretty philosophical if you really dig deep down.
Oh, sure.
There's a really,
I mean,
there's a strong message
they
there.
serve a purpose. This is a public service.
I believe so. Yeah, exactly. And speaking of that, how about your in-laws, Bob? This is a lot of humors from that. And actually, oftentimes the truth is the funniest thing. So you have a married couple in bed, and she says to him, "My parents completely accept you. It's true, honey, but they just don't like you." No, that's true, right?
It's actually a very big thing in every relationship, is accepting that person for all their faults.
Yes.
And often that means accepting their in-laws.
Their family, yeah, their baggage.
Their family.
Okay.
And it comes all in one big package. And you have to take the whole package.
Right, exactly.
The real test.
It is, yeah. But obviously you want to find, what you love more, the commonalities. And, the research does show that if you focus on those positives, like four positives to every maybe negative, that's going to build up points in the marriage, emotional points. So you're going to have a stronger relationship or marriage over time. Now, a lot of people do the opposite. They point out 4 things they hate and maybe say one little thing. Like, you're a terrible lover, you're a bad provider, you're lousy with the children, but you make good tortillas or enchiladas. I mean, that's not going to work. So
I have a bit of advice for this.
Yes.
Take those negative points and just turn them into cartoons, and then dispel them. Okay. I had said to myself, there were a couple of things that I didn't agree with my enemy, of course.
Yes.
And I said, I'm just going to accept it and never bring it up in my head again. And I put it in the rearview mirror, and then I just said, going forward, if this is going to work, I have to put aside those differences and just move on. Now, I don't know if this could happen in every case.
Yes.
For instance, I know couples now who are going through this summer, and they're from different political parties.
Right.
And you have not just interracial couples. Yes. That seems to be no problem.
Right.
Interpolitical
couples, you're saying.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. And then they're staying home a lot, and they're maybe fighting more, right? Because they're not, using their energy to go golfing or whatever, or shopping or something as they used to do. So that's an issue as well. And of course, unfortunately, Bob, we get to one of the last stages of what's called divorce, where a lot of unfortunately 50% of first marriages, they say, end in divorce, and 60% of second marriages end in divorce, which is kind of sad. But divorce, I mean, there is some light to it. One of the cartoons, a woman is at a jewelry store, and she says to the attendant, "Can you recommend something for the attorney who got me everything?" So, the attorney gets it, right? Okay.
Doctor, when I first was approached to do this book, the publisher wanted me to just do divorce.
Oh, okay. Just divorce, which is sad, but also funny in some ways, I guess you could say.
Well, they felt that they were doing something kind for people going through it. They thought this would be what people needed. Because everything, and we all agree, divorce is one of the most difficult things in life.
Yes.
But they felt this book could provide that. On the other hand, we both reasoned that we should include everything from love and divorce. Yes. There were aspects of love that are just as painful. And also we needed to have some enlightenment and some optimism.
Yes. Definitely.
So it couldn't just be the end. Beginning and end.
Right, exactly. No, I like that. Yeah, it's a more, kind of combination of experience. But it is good that you are doing this to lighten people's loads, because humor can improve your perspective. It gives you an overall picture. And I think the idea that you said that everything is going to be okay. That's kind of a message, right? That no matter what, you can laugh at something, right? You can laugh at it later on once the pain has subsided. You can see it in a different way. And of course, one of the things that actually is very painful for a lot of people in divorce is the children, because they're separated many times from their children. They can't see them as much. There's child custody battles and financial support battles. And what do you think of that, Bob? Should people stay together for the sake of their children? A lot of people actually do that. They have, they're incompatible. Maybe they're not really physically abusive marriages, but they're incompatible. Do you think they should stay together for the children's sake?
Well, that's case by case. And, I'm not a doctor.
No, of course.
I just play one on TV.
On TV, exactly.
And I think that, that's now getting into something very serious. My role that I felt in this life, I felt this way sometimes,
Yes.
is to make people laugh.
Yes.
So I'm not trying to preach. I am trying to make people just get through their day a little easier.
Right.
So when it comes to something like that, it's obviously the most painful part of a divorce is how it affects children.
Right. But sometimes pain twisted around can become humor, and actually it can help, lighten the load. But actually,
diffuse it.
Yeah, if you use it properly, yeah. Because one of the studies does show that actually children are often hurt by divorce in terms of their self-esteem, school performance, and other things. But the exception is if the child is highly sensitive and they hear the fight, maybe there's not physical abuse, maybe there's just emotional arguments. They're better off sometimes away from that, psychologically. But let's get into the humor part. So let's lighten the load. So one of the cartoons says a little girl with the dad. Her T-shirt says, "Daddy's little girl, weekends and alternative Wednesdays." Poor thing. Okay.
That diffusing a sticky situation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. How about this one? There's two rats talking to an auditorium of a lot of rats, and they says, "Your father and I want to explain why we decided to part." And can you imagine the child support for all those rats? I mean, that's all those babies, right? They make.
It's actually a beautiful drawing, and I'm sorry we can't show it, but
okay.
But yeah.
Well, they can go to your website. We're going to give them that information.
Yeah.
So Bob, how do we become more humorous? So let's say that we're in a relationship. Maybe there's a little bit of discord. Maybe we're depressed because of the virus issue and economic problems or whatever. What do we do? And now we can maybe listen to some YouTube videos and certain cartoons we can watch or all that with our partner. What do you suggest? How do we get more humor into our life?
Well, to be more playful helps. I use playfulness as a method to being more creative.
Yes.
You can't be creative if you're anxious and you're feeling dread.
Yes.
And that's why I speak about this in different places. During this pandemic, writers and artists are struggling with being creative. And then the reason for that is because they're anxious and it's a tough time. So I try to encourage them to find a place in their mind or physically that they can be more playful and relieve themselves of the stress. It's actually mentioned, I have another book, The Elements of Stress, kind of addresses this, how to deal with stress. And so people could find a place or remember a thing that's a good memory. As a matter of fact, it kind of touches on your last, I don't know if it was your last guest, but one of your previous guests recently, Wendell Miracle.
Oh, you did your research. That's good.
Yeah, but Wendell, I caught my eye because of what a great name.
Oh, yeah,
Wendell
I love it.
Miracle.
Yeah.
I mean, I really want to change my name now.
Well, when he became a citizen, they said you can change your name for free. So I said, I'll do it. I'll call it Miracle. So that's the
Why not? I'm sure that's a really.
What would you want to change your name to, Bob? What will it be? Bob America or something, or Bob Fun?
Super Bob.
Oh, Super Bob. Okay.
Obviously Wendell was onto something there to attract in the opposite sex. Yes. Miracle, I'm sure, got a lot of people's interest.
Not bad. Money would be nice too, but he didn't get that one.
But that's a very wealthy Bob.
Bob SquarePants. No, not that one. That's different. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Already taken.
Okay, great. Actually, Reggie, come over here, my producer. Now, Reggie has been with me for a long time, as you know, and he has a small announcement.
I've met Reggie.
A small announcement to make. Reggie, you just had a relationship success. Mm-hmm. Well, tell us about it. You haven't really had a real relationship in a long time.
Yeah, I remember we talked at the book fair about our Dr. Avila and I's long-standing bet for him to help me out getting a date, and I actually wanted to say I've kind of done one up. I'm had my second date, official date, like going in knowing that was a date. Recently.
Darn it! I'm out $100. I'm gonna have to pay for his date now. I promised I paid him $100 if you can get a date with a nice gal, for the date. So, all right, John, good job, right? I'll give you a high five.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Bob? I think he took your advice. He lightened things up a little bit and became more humorous. Come back. You're still here. Okay.
Slow but steady. Took a year. That's fine though. Okay. I mean, treat her nice. Let's take this nicely. Treat her like the queen that she is.
Yes.
And let's see if we can get to the second and third date successfully.
There you go. Maybe next year, right? The third date.
Yeah, exactly.
No, not next year. No. Right. Well, Reggie, Bob, this is an exercise we do called humorous, contagious, or laughter, and we have like what's called laughter parties. So you get together with a few friends, you start laughing for no reason. And it becomes contagious. So let's try it right now, Reggie. So start laughing. Bob, laugh.
Okay.
Bob, that's not a laugh. That's a smirk. Where's
Oh,
your laugh?
you know what? I'm a professional. This is something.
Oh, okay. All right. You're very calm about it, right? Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm hysterical on the
You're
inside.
laughing. Okay, great. All right, right. Good job, Reggie. Bye.
Reggie, thanks a lot. Good to see you.
Yes.
Good to see you too,
Yes.
Bob.
But Bob's moods are contagious. As you know, you walk into a room of negative people, you can feel the same way, or you can walk into a room of positive people, or I mean, you're positive, you're laughing, you can infect them with laughter.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what you're trying to do here. Now, you don't laugh, Bob. I noticed that.
No, I'm laughing.
No. But are you the hysterical? Or are you more like a calm laugher? How would you say?
No, that was it. That was it. No,
Okay.
Once in a while, I'll explode. It's sort of like a pressure cooker building up.
Okay.
And there'll be something that someone says to me,
Right.
and I just explode with laughter.
Right.
And that's a tension release.
Exactly.
And it's just to make you feel good. I mean,
Right.
and it can happen anywhere.
Well, what if you're in an inappropriate place, like almost a funeral, and someone starts giggling by mistake, and you try to laugh and suppress it? Has that ever happened to you, or have you ever seen that?
Well, when you say that, the first thing I do think of as a student of comedy is the most famous TV episode ever, which is the Mary Tyler Moore Show, when Mary Tyler Moore is at Chuckles the Clown's funeral, and she can't stop laughing, and everyone else is
trying to cover your mouth and all that, and like you can't stop it, right?
Yeah, it's considered the best episode ever on television history.
Wow, because it's a true thing, right? People have this irresistible urge sometimes to laugh, no matter what, right?
Oh, I do that. I do that now with Zooms. There'll be a solemn Zoom meeting, and everyone's really whatever. And I'll get one person to laugh, and then they can't even control it, and they have to turn off their video because they can't be seen, like totally doubling over.
Exactly. It's kind of powerful.
That is my skill. I can do that really well.
Okay, you can do it.
It's to ruin Zoom meetings.
Okay, you can destroy the Zooms in the world. Okay. Well,
Exactly.
Bob, a couple of things here now. If you could do one tweet to the world, what would that tweet be?
Buy my book.
Okay, that's a nice one. Okay, all right. Okay,
No.
good. All right. How about number 2?
Let's see. Well, you're putting me on the spot here. My goodness.
Yeah, creativity. Flow.
I think I'm going to go with what I said earlier, which is things can't get worse, but they can get much funnier.
Okay. Tell me more about that. What does that mean, actually? Give me more of a feeling of that.
Oh, well, going through everything that we've all been through this year, I mean, we all could agree that we need some funny. And it's time to try to turn this around and to find something funny in it.
Exactly. What's one of the biggest investments you've ever made in your life? I mean, time, money, or energy that really paid off quite a bit.
Well, I would say where you're reaching me right now, I purchased this fixer-upper in the woods.
Oh, wow.
And it took a lot of time to get it working. In other words, I had to put in the electricity and the plumbing. The house really didn't have any of those utilities. And now it's a beautiful dream house. And it is my oasis. And it is what we talked about earlier, where you need to go someplace.
Right.
This is where I go.
Okay, so you have a writer's cabin or a little place you can be creative, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Little waterfalls, everything.
That's wonderful. You told me you've written 2 books and 50 cartoons during the pandemic. You've kind of like turned this into a powerful creative time. What's your secret for that? I mean, how can people do that right now? How can we turn this, seclusion or whatever it is into something positive or creative?
Well, everyone has their own voice, and you got to see things in a certain way. And the experience that I went through, I try to see it in my unique way.
Yes.
And try to give people something to see it, something different. For instance, back to school, I did a large piece called Back to Zoom, in which people had to get their children prepared for the school year. Yes. And I had them buying all the things for kids for school, like Dr. Fauci lunchbox.
Oh, okay.
And gloves that were cheat notes on them.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And fruit rolls that are also disinfectants for their keyboard and their mouse.
That's clever.
So I try to take something that we all see day to day and turn it on its head and find some humor in it see something as something different.
I like that.
I came up with the game Pandemic Monopoly.
Oh, wow. So you buy up all the distressed properties, or what do you do there? Or just kind of like...
Well, the properties are all different. And like instead of the lowest ones like
Yes.
Baltic and Mediterranean as the first ones,
right.
you have your living room and your basement.
Oh, okay. That's good.
All the places were set. Waterworks was turned into wash your hands.
Okay, I like that. Very clever. Okay. You got the creativity flowing today. I like that. Okay. So, Bob, where do we go from here now? What are you excited about? I know you got the 2 books coming out or have come out. What's in the future for you? Any great things you're working on or interested in?
Well, I just came out with the book Elements of Stress.
Yes.
And that's all about, it's a handbook.
Yes.
So from there, I want to do the Elements of Stress, the musical.
Oh, the musical. Okay. So we're going to sing and dance and eliminate our stress with dancing? Or
No,
something,
of course not. I'm just joking.
Okay, nothing like that. Okay, Bob.
That'd be insane.
Okay.
No, there's no musical. But what's happening next is just me getting the word out.
Yes.
And trying to breathe into a paper bag as I watch the debates and get through the selection.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, Bob.
We're taking this one step at a time.
Yes, definitely.
Let's get through November 1st.
One moment at a time, right? Let's say. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, Bob. So it's been a wonderful having you on the show. Where can we hear more about your work, your website, and everything else that you're doing?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on.
Definitely.
I always have a good time with you. This is the 3rd time, actually, I think, that we've spoken. You could send people my way by going to my website, and it's just my name. It's bobeckstein.com.
Yes.
And I'm going to spell it. It's a B-O-B.
Yes.
ECKSTEIN.
Okay.
Or you can go to elementsofstress.com,
Yes.
and there's also information there to get yourself stress-free for the rest of this year.
Okay. One little tip for stress-free that you can give us right now?
Yeah, okay, here we go. Potato rolls. Potato rolls, you want to, if you want to eat a hamburger, use a potato roll. A diet has a lot to do with stress.
Good point.
If you're on a diet, use the potato roll as a stress ball.
Okay, there you go. Okay, don't eat it, just use it. Right?
Just use it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, listen, short notice, that's the best you're going to get.
Okay, well, it's not bad. Okay.
Not bad, but it's going to relieve stress.
Yeah, laughter can reduce calories too, right? So that actually helps because you don't have to eat. Okay.
Oh, you know what? It depends. Now, are you putting on the pounds or are you losing weight?
Actually, I put on a little bit. I'm trying to get losing a little bit now, so back into it.
I mean, because you go one way or the other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everyone's either losing it or gaining it.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, losing is better, if you can do it. But don't lose your mind. Lose your weight. That's better. So,
okay.
So Bob, it's been a pleasure. This is Dr. Alex Avila, Love University. You can visit us at loveuniversity.love. Write to us at loveuniversitylove@gmail.com. Call us at 310-226-8090. Tell us what you thought about today's show and Bob's humor. And if you want to send in some questions or maybe be on the show, let us know. And also you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Bob, it's been a pleasure. Let's keep in touch. We'll keep going this out. And whenever we see you again, we'll get you back on.
Good luck, Reggie.
All right. Okay. Follow up with them. Okay. Right.
Right.
Maybe the babies are coming next, right? We'll see.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean, plan them out. Okay. Bye. That was a great interview with Bob Eckstein, world-renowned cartoonist and humorist. So if you want to learn more about what we do at Love University, we're talking about how to love yourself, others, and a higher nature, how to improve your life in every way through psychology, spirituality, self-help, and really starting with that inner love as well. What you can do is you can like us on Facebook at Love University Podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Love Letter U Podcast. Also subscribe to us on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Until next time, this is Dr. Alex Avila. Go out and make this a humorous, laughing week. Despite the obstacles and tragedies that we may face, humor is the balm. It's this perspective. It's the soothing of life. Laugh, and the world laughs with you. Dr. Avila.